Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Adult Puzzle Podcast. I am one of your co hosts, Lola, aka, but really Lola Day, if you know what I mean. And with me is my wonderful co host, Lamide. Lamide, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode.
I feel like you always feel the need to repeat what I say.
To be honest, I
Mhm.
don't mind copying you. Your intros lately have been hitting. So, oh, and you forgot to say whatever your heart desires. So,
Yeah, we did fit that one in today. How is your week, your day? How has it been?
um, I'm good. I'm actually in a good space.
Okay.
The weather's been funny. Like
Funny.
yeah,
Mm.
it's been chilly. Like I usually like to know what I get. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So. It can be very chilly in the morning, like super cold, maybe like 30. Then you know, by noon,
Mm-hmm.
it's giving you sunny vibes,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
like
Bipolar.
wind, like with the wind. You get what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah.
hot and cold at the same time, literally. I
Yep.
kid you not.
Yeah. For this week, we're gonna I don't even know if it's slow it down or have a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation. It's not uncomfortable. I think it's a conversation that we have more and more of in this day and age.
hmm
But we wanted to bring it to this podcast because, as usual, like as we, talk about all things that has to do with adulting, this is one big one that we feel like we need to talk about. We're probably going to have several episodes on this, but we're going to start the conversation today.
Right.
And the topic is mental health, mental awareness, mental stigmas,
hmm
anything that has to do with your mental state. We are going to start talking about that today.
Yeah, we are. And the truth of the matter is that it's just really important, like all that is, it's
Mm-hmm.
really important topic, especially in today's world. So again, this podcast from the title Adult Puzzle, it's a part of our daily struggle as adults,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just an important conversation that it needs to be spoken about more in
Mm-hmm.
circles and friendships and like classes and offices. So we're doing our part. And to kick things off, I'd just like to ask you some random
Okay.
questions about facts, and
I'm
let's see
nervous.
if you have any idea about when I read all this. I'm like, no way. So just humor me, right?
Okay.
How many people in America do you think struggle with mental illness? If you had to
Okay.
guess.
Mental illness, I would say one out of four or five.
So give me a number in the mills.
Oh shoot. I don't know the population. Okay, let me just try and do a wild guess. Um, maybe like 5 to 7 million.
Hmm, interesting. But the number is more than 43 million people
Oh
in
wow.
America struggle with mental illness. That's
Wow.
insane, right?
That doesn't surprise me, but yeah, it's pretty mind blowing. Yeah. Yeah.
Because, and again, this is an American, so the data is from America, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious too as well to how that number would be for a
Mm-hmm.
place like Nigeria. It then
Nigeria.
gives you it then gives you perspective into why people act the way they do
Mm-hmm.
and how frustrated everybody can be. Because if I'm going to get to this soon, this next point or this next fact soon, but if 43 million people are not like mental illness does not mean they are sick, like
Oh my gosh,
again,
yes.
which is what we're going to talk about on this episode. But like,
Mm-hmm.
if we're saying more than 43 million people in America mentally are suffering from like, let me not even say suffering, they're struggling with
Mm-hmm.
mental illness. I mean, that's just a ridiculous number. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So anyway, that's one. Um, Oh, you got this one already. One in five young people. Oh, I gave it away already. So let me just go ahead and say, one in five young people. Did you know that one in five young people have, has, or will develop a mental illness in their lifetime? A
That makes
Yoruba person
sense.
will say, "I reject this in Jesus' name," but but just
It doesn't
for
surprise me, yeah, because I mean, I work on like oncology and stuff, and the stats are
mhm.
pretty similar. It's like one in three to
But they
four
are
people.
alarming, no?
Yeah, it's alarming. Yeah, it's very, very alarming. And honestly, it's not shocking. I keep saying that,
Hmm.
but it's not shocking. Like
Hmm.
it's alarming to see how popular and prevalent it is. I guess
Hmm.
popular is not the word, but prevalent it is in our
Hmm.
society. But it doesn't shock me, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the leading cause of disability worldwide?
Disability.
If you
Hmm.
had to take a wild guess as to the leading cause of disability,
I would say genetic issues, but because we're talking about mental health, a part of me is like, it's a trick question and it's mental health.
so what do you think it is?
I think it's mental health issues or
So
just,
yeah, depression. Depression is the leading cause of disabilities worldwide.
oh,
And
really? That
depression
is blowing me
is.
away. Depression. And that's a specific type
Mm-hmm.
of mental health, uh,
Mm-hmm.
like category. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh, wow.
And
Wow.
reading that, I'm like, okay, so madness is not a one day thing.
Oh, no.
That means
Yeah.
it must have been building up subconsciously for a while. And maybe when the band finally snaps, that's when everybody goes, oh, he's crazy, you're mad,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's really interesting to know. Depression is the leading cause of disabilities worldwide. That's
Wow.
intense.
Yeah, that's that one. I'm like, I would have never known disabilities to. Oh, okay, good to know.
Okay, and the last one, before we get into it, is do you mind sharing some common signs? If I were to tell you, you know, let us know some signs of mental health issues that you think you know. What do you think they are?
Mm, I would say the biggest one is like drastic change in
Mm,
behaviors.
mm,
And I'm not saying that's always the situation, but for me, the primary thing is like drastic change in behaviors that I would use as an indication for mental
hmm.
health issues.
You're,
Yeah.
you're correct. You're correct. And so, some of those, signs of mental health issues include extreme mood swings, like you said, drastic
Mhm.
change in behavior, changes
Yeah.
in eating habits, excessive
Mhm.
worrying or fear,
Yep.
problems concentrating, avoiding
Mhm.
friends or social activities. That's also a huge sign of depression as well, where you don't want to be around your people no more. You feel
Mhm.
like you communicate with your friends regularly, right? But all of a sudden, you don't want to say anything. You don't want to be around them. You don't want to, like, when they call to check in, you're not picking their calls.
Yeah.
This is a weird thing I used to do. Like, I can look at a friend call me and I'll stay at the phone till the phone rings out.
Yeah, I feel like we've all been there.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, there's some times where, like, I don't know, but again, it just shows that this mental health thing is it's a really common problem, because the world is just too complex right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, so much is going on, and at the end of the day, we're humans, right? How we
Mhm.
deal and cope through these things is just different. But yeah,
If you had to like describe what you think mental health is, what is it? And we've kind of alluded here as to why it's important that we should be paying attention to it. So let's actually talk about what we think mental health is and like why it's very important.
mental health to me is the state of mind or
Mhm.
wellness of your state of mind, how we cater to mind state, what we feed it, and how it
Yeah.
responds to external stimuli being or external factors being your immediate environment,
Mm-hmm.
um, your family, friendships, work. So how you feed your mind and how your mind responds to those external factors for me, I think is what mental health is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
How about
100%
you?
agree. Like
Okay.
1,000%. Everything you said. It's our state of mind, emotionally, how we behave, psychologically, even socially. You mentioned how we have
Mm-hmm.
external factors trigger us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think mental health, like, really, really is a guide to how our body functions. And I don't think we started to
Mm,
make that connection until quite recently, where we realized that your mental health literally affects the way you think, the way you feel, the way you
mm,
go about your life, and the way,
mm,
and even going to the second question I asked as to like, why is mental health important, is the way we take care of our physical health, like eat healthy, work out, sleep, da da da. I think taking care of our mental health is should be just as important
mm-hmm.
because our mind fades very much into the physical stuff. And you just said a fact that literally threw me off. Not threw me off like in a bad way, but like it opened my mind to things that I never knew, how disabilities
Hmm.
like number one causing factor of disabilities is literally
Depression. Yeah.
depression. And I'm like, wow, like your mind can literally trick you into certain things, and not even just trick you, but like your mind can trigger so many different chemical reactions,
That's
biological
right.
reactions in
Mm-hmm.
your body that affects your physical body and state. And yeah, no, like it's everything you said, I agree, and I think it's like something that we should definitely pay a lot of attention to and just try and keep up with it.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because at the end of the day, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in my opinion, I even think, so statistics say one in four, right? Like you rightly
Mm-hmm.
said, one in four people. But I think
Mm-hmm.
it's everybody.
Oh
Because
yeah.
to be honest with you, is really, really okay in the 21st century. Maybe 100 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
when pornography did not exist, when racism
Pornography.
did not exist, where, um, no, I'm trying to be as real as possible,
No, I like it. You're
where
right.
religion wasn't
Social
like
media.
social media didn't exist, where religion was not a basis of like
Mm-hmm.
demarcation or like
Yep.
me versus you,
Yep.
where party your party
Political
your
party.
political alliances do not like make
Yeah.
you more superior or less than the
Yeah.
next human being.
Even
Where
extreme social
do you
classes,
understand
like
where students were not shooting their classmates in
oh
school,
yeah.
where
Yeah.
people did not have road rage and could just shoot at someone on the road? Like now, where all those things are a factor in
Mm-hmm.
today's world, how can anybody boldly say, I am okay
Yeah.
and I'll
Or I
believe
don't
you?
need to take care of
Or I don't,
my
do you understand
mind.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how can everybody boldly say I'm okay? It's impossible.
Yeah. No,
We
I
all walk
absolutely
and
agree.
move in the world today with
Mm-hmm.
a look over our shoulder. Like,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
that's crazy. That's intense.
It's so intense. You're so right. The world, as we continue to like advance and evolve, is becoming more and more of a scarier place to live
Hmm.
and more anxiety inducing, mentally like stimulating, but also has its detriment where we're constantly stimulated, but it's also causing us so much like mental hardship.
Right.
And yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I kind of wanted to like, and this is something that as we're talking, I'm like, okay, I want to break things down a little bit more.
Yes, please.
So I had to learn this through like an experience from a family member, and not even just family member, but uh what is it called? From getting exposed to people who have mental illness.
Okay.
And what it is basically that there is a distinction between having poor mental health at a specific state in your life versus having a mental illness. And I think obviously both things, they should never be a stigma around any of them, whether you have a mental illness or whether you have poor mental health. But I really want to distinguish because I feel like what you were saying earlier, it kind of alludes to the poor mental health state that we all, it's kind of inevitable. Like there are times where we're just going to have poor mental health days. There are times that we're going to struggle with our mind, our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors. It's just normal. However, it's based on how you handle that and how you navigate through ensuring that your mental state is in check. That is slightly different from when you have like a mental illness. And I kind of want to like give people examples. So for example, me having a poor mental health day might be like my anxiety is over the roof, right? Or I'm having like a small depression episode of like, oh, I just feel really down, I feel very sad, da 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 da. Versus like if I have a mental illness and let's say I have like schizophrenia or like some type of diagnosed bipolar disorder, or even like there's some extreme like eating disorders that it's literally very very extreme and it's no more like, oh, I'm thinking of food in certain ways selectively. It's like food controls my mind and my life and like,
Mhm.
yeah. So I want to differentiate those two because I think a lot of people, now in the day that we're in, it's getting so much better. Maybe we talk about that later on, where mental health has evolved so much over the years. But even now, I want people to understand, and even me, I'm understanding this, that like, no, someone saying like my mental health state is not great right now doesn't mean like they are going to be full on diagnosed with some mental illness. No, you're
Hmm.
just going through a mental health, like a bad mental health period, and you can get through that. However, there are times where like uh just stack up of poor mental health states and poor mental decisions can
Mhm.
lead to an illness. But I do want to differentiate those two because I think with an illness, it has way more gravity there because that's where you go into the spectrum of like maybe you might need uh what is it called, like more intense type of care.
Mhm.
But like I said earlier, still no stigmas around any of the two. I think you can have mental illness for a short period of time and come out of it, but you
Mhm.
can also have poor mental health periods and try to stop yourself from moving into like the illness range. So I just wanted to talk about that. I actually wanted to ask if you actually knew about this because I recently found this out through, like I said, like experiencing it with an extended family member that was just diagnosed with a mental health illness.
Mhm. So for me, I think you're very, very correct. That's the first thing I would say. Two would be I'm not always quick to join people, to label people that are going through shortcomings
Mm-hmm.
in their health as crazy or sick.
Yeah.
So I think the world we live in today is quick to put a label on people that are not acting the way everybody else is acting. You
True.
understand what I'm saying? And I
Mm-hmm.
think the effects of the realities that we are facing on people is different. So, to your point, someone who is mentally ill at a point in time, just for a short period, maybe by virtue of whatever is going on
Mm-hmm.
around him or her at that point in time, whether erratic, because the degree again will vary
We're
between
very,
people,
yeah.
right? But their reaction to those particular situations during that period of time, yes, the person is mentally ill at that point in time, does not mean the person is mentally like deranged or the person is different from you and I, or the person is like, crazy, like the world would say, or the person is. I just think this thing is an action and reaction kind of thing.
Mhm.
And someone who is now maybe diagnosed as okay, after checking, running tests and stuff like that, there's some, what's the right word to use now? There's some maybe genetic mutations or whatever,
Mhm.
or there's some chemicals in your brain that are giving you like making you act different than normal.
Mhm.
Ehen, that person has been properly diagnosed, and that person needs, whatever form of therapy, or, whether it's an
Medication.
operation or medication to,
Mhm.
like, calm or eliminate those irregularities within you.
Mhm.
You understand? So that's different than we just like being quick to label people that are reacting to, like, to be honest, I think the level of hypocrisy in today's world is just through the roof. Do you understand what I
Extreme.
mean? Because the way we would react to situations in our homes, is all different. Even something as little as breakups or not getting a job, you know, people are different. Some people react in like really, really erratic ways, and some people are just calm about it. And sometimes even being too calm can be mentally depressing, right? So
Mhm.
if someone has gone through a big life change, let's say Ladi was to get, God forbid, but let's say Ladi was to get married this weekend, and all of a sudden,
I'm glad you said God forbid.
God forbid, I'm very Nigerian when it comes to that. I reject it in the name of Jesus. But if Ladi were to get married, let me not even use Ladi's name. I'm now too.
Yeah,
if
that happens to me.
if Lakeisha was to get Lakeisha, I apologize, but if Lakeisha were to get married this weekend,
Mhm.
and her boyfriend Tom doesn't show up, or her fiance Tom doesn't show up to the wedding, and all of a sudden he sends her an email or text or whatever saying, "Oh, he's not in love with her no more," and everything, the regular fuckboy
Mhm.
shit. And all of a sudden, Lakeisha isn't angry. She's acting all normal. She's like, everybody should still stay and enjoy drinks, that they're going to party, you know what I'm saying? They're going to have a good time. She still shares like the souvenirs. She's partying all night. The next day, people are expecting like the breakdown. She doesn't break down. She
Mhm.
still ends up going for a honeymoon. She treats herself to like St. Bart's or something, and is taking selfies and nice pictures. She's smiling. She's on the surface, she's good. She
Mhm.
reports back to work and she's like, she's having a poor, her
Mhm.
reaction is not
Yeah,
normal.
it's
Do
not
you understand?
normal. There's
It's not
yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So like, she is either she's masking, her true whatever it is, but like, yeah, the thing is not balancing out the way it should.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you can't now say she's crazy because of that. My
No,
point.
yeah. Or she's
That's why.
mentally ill
Or she's
because
mentally ill. So,
yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
things like this, I think we need to educate ourselves more.
Yep.
And nowadays, people even with social media is even worse now because
Oh
they make fun of you in
gosh.
public and you know
Literally. And I
break
think
down
social
their.
media is a
Mhm.
cause, like it's a huge cause
Oh
of
my
some
God.
of the heightened anxiety, depression rates that we're seeing nowadays. Even I'm not gonna lie to you, like, so
Mhm.
because at some point, and this was like before COVID happened, I used to tell my friends like, oh, social media is really not that serious. Like you could just drop the phone when you want to. Da, da, da. When COVID hit, I
Mhm.
found myself just every time I would open the app,
Mhm.
they're just like emotions that just overflow me that I
Mhm.
didn't even know where they came from. And
Mhm.
it's like I didn't have control over like them coming up. And I had to learn like, okay, there's something about the stories you're seeing, whatever it is that's being told on social media. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Whether it's like on the bad side, seeing all the COVID rates go up and just getting like super anxious, or on the good side, it's like um you're seeing people still having a good time, but you feel like anxiety, like you feel so much pressure that you're not having a good time. But if you don't have a good time, are you still gonna live that long? Because is COVID gonna be the end of the world? Like just irrational thoughts like that
It's crazy.
sometimes.
And Lade, to your point, isn't it super crazy that information that is unverified,
Mm-hmm.
that is not tested at all, has total control
Yep.
about how you react in forms of comments, likes, or even your personal feelings
Yep.
about people you do not know.
Really no. Yep.
Like it mesmerizes me how the kind of control it has over us. And you say we are not all mentally, we are not all going through like a poor
Poor
state of
mental health.
mental health,
Yeah. Yeah.
poor mental state. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's ridiculous. Why am I angry about a story that I don't even know the origin? I don't know the real situation of things. I don't, but because a blog said, or because someone said, or because I'm already developing emotions, like
Yep.
hardcore emotions about
No,
it's
literally.
ridiculous.
It's
It's
really
ridiculous.
wild.
Let's just talk about stigmas and how we can help debunk some of these wild theories or stories that we hear. Let me know some stigmas or scenarios
Yeah.
or stories that you've heard that are just totally insane.
Yeah, wow, I think the first one, and this was one that I had to debunk myself, just going through like learning and stuff, was how poor mental health state does not equate to mental illness.
Hmm.
And poor mental health state is very, very, very normal. And I'm not saying having a mental illness is not normal. It is very normal, just how people get sick all the time, all of that.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
the same way, like, you can have a random stomach ache, you can have a bad poor you have a bad mental health day, and that's
Mhm.
that's very normal. And I think that's one of the myths that we need to start debunking, where it's like it's okay for you to have negative thoughts, it's okay for
Mhm.
you to just not feel okay. It's how you get out of that would help you out. um the other thing is that people, so now moving to the mental illness side, people with mental illness are always like violent or dangerous. And I
Mhm.
think you had like alluded to this earlier, where in Africa, especially Nigeria, like growing up, we kind of saw people with mental health illnesses as like mad. And when I say mad, I mean like crazy, like people that lose their shit. They have no control over like their body, their emotions, the things they say. And we're
Mhm.
kind of like looked as like very dangerous, very violent. But I don't think that's always the case. I think, yes, some people, especially if you're bipolar and you're having a manic high,
Mhm.
you can be violent and you might be dangerous, but that's not the norm. Like that's not
Mhm.
everyone. And I think
Mhm.
you can have a
Mhm.
poor mental. Also, another thing is like mental illnesses span out. There's bipolar, there's schizophrenia, there's PTSD, there's extreme eating disorders. Like somebody with an anorexic disorder is calm as hell. They ain't
Hmm.
eating shit. They're just calm. But like,
Hmm.
it is a disorder because there's a way they think about food that's preventing them from having a certain type of
Mhm.
relationship with food and
Mhm.
eating and all of that. Yeah. Um, the other one that I think is big, and this also stems back to like African culture, is how having a bad mental health state or date is just day. So bad mental health state or day is just an illusion. It's like, oh, it's all in your head. You're just being lazy. You just don't want to do it.
Mhm.
But now, like, your mental health can really go through a funk. Like the way your body has cramps, the way you can have body aches, chills, fall sick for few days, your
Mhm.
mental health can fall sick for a few days too.
Mhm.
And it's not an illusion. Yes, there are ways to get yourself out of it, and yes, there are ways to prevent it to the best of your abilities. But to some extent, it's kind of inevitable, depending on what your society is like your environments, other factors, all of that. And then the last one, which I think is very, very big, and it kind of feeds into what I said earlier about the illusion, is
Mm-hmm.
that there's some type of weakness sometimes that's a myth that's
Mm-hmm.
associated with people that have, or people that have a openly acknowledged like their mental health
Mm-hmm.
weakness or instability. So it's like, oh, if you say you have like poor mental health or poor mental state, it just means you're weak. It just means you can't take tough things. Or and no, like I do think sometimes um your mind just goes through it and you just can't handle anymore for a certain period of time, and you need to give yourself like the time to breathe. Think about it as working out, right? The way you go to the gym and you get stronger and stronger and stronger. You started from 10 pounds and now you go to 15, and then you go to 25, and then you go to 35. You can't just go to the gym and expect to lift 300 pounds. Like, it's not going to work. And same with your mental health.
From
Like,
where to where? Hmm.
exactly. So there's some times where you you can just have very like your mind and your body, your mental state can just take a lot, and that doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you need more time, you need things to be like readjusted, and you need to listen to your mind and your body and all of that. So those are the things, those are the myths, and I think the things I said are the ways that I've now realized to help debunk the myths, because even some of the myths I had with myself, and I think we spoke about this on an episode last season, where there were times that I would be my own biggest critic, where it's like I'm going through a tough time, but my
Hmm.
mind is like forcing me to dismiss it. It's like, oh, there are people suffering, like people have real problems. But no, like it's okay for me to feel weak. It's okay for me to feel like I can't take it anymore and I just need the breather. Like those type of things are okay. So yeah, those are some of the myths from my perspectives. And one of my friends, she actually always says this, that like she preaches on like everyone needs to have a mental health like check-in day. You
Hmm.
know how you go to your hospital to check in on your physical health, right? We as people, we need to start having like mental health check-in days, and obviously more often than just once a year going for a physical, right? Like checking in on like, how am I feeling, what are my stressors, how can I eliminate them, what are the things that make me happy, what are the things that have been making me sad, like triggers, just things like that. And I think over time, if we continue to have those check-ins and try to remove those stigmas from our society, our institutions, our conversations, it would help. Like we need to open the conversations, even when like if your friend comes to you like, yo, I can't do this, I'm having a bad mental day, health day, like knowing the right way to respond. Like, are you responding from a practical sense of like, that doesn't make sense, do this and this and this and this, or are you responding from a sense of like empathy and like, okay, let's take a step back, your mental state is not great right now, so obviously your body cannot execute the way you would want it to execute. You need to take care of your mind first. So those type of conversations like would help with debunking the stigmas.
You said it all, and even things like autism
Mm-hmm.
and all these other illnesses. It's the truth of the matter is sometimes those people are even like the smartest in the
Yep,
room. Imagine if,
exactly
for
that.
example, let's say the average human mind works at 40-50%. Imagine someone born with the ability to activate 90% of his brain capacity. Lolade, that person won't be operating on our level.
Level and that
We'll
different.
call the person mad or different.
As in
You understand what I'm saying? They can't communicate. I saw a movie one time where I think the person was autistic, but he was highly intelligent. Like he could solve, all those tiny puzzle pieces. If you put 4,000 piece puzzle in front of this dude, he'll piece it together. How how will you tell me that that person's mind is operating on our level, or like you would be able to communicate with that kind of person? I mean, the difference is clear. Sometimes I even think that some of the people that we are calling mad or mentally ill, they are way above our level. So who really is mentally sick? They'll be looking at us
Yeah,
like, oh, you're dumb, that kind of thing.
yeah,
And the truth of the matter is, we just need to learn and, like you said, open up the conversation. The conversation around someone that does not operate the way we do needs to change. We should not be looking at them with disgust. We should not be looking at them as any, yes, they are different, but we shouldn't react to them any differently than we would love our neighbor who is the same as us. So these are conscious changes that we have to make within ourselves,
yeah.
And yeah,
No,
I'm so happy we're talking about this. I'm super happy. Even something
I,
as little as crying. Look at the
yo,
stigma associated
I'm
with
the
crying.
biggest believer in crying. I always tell my friends, I
When last
haven't.
did you cry? When last did you cry?
Let me tell I cried. Okay, so if I haven't cried a lot this year, I think I cried, um, like the day before New Year's. the
That's
20
good.
the 30th or 30, but I'm very big on like crying, not just because I want to cry just to cry. No, like if I'm feeling very sad and very emotional and
Hmm.
I'm tearing up, like I let myself cry. Like I let myself, because it actually makes me feel better. And that's why I always tell people, like I feel like there's some type of scientific connection to how crying helps release
It
certain bad
definitely
emotions. Yeah,
It definitely is. Yeah, I think there's something going on there.
there's
And
something.
for me, I don't even understand with the idea of men are not supposed to cry. I don't
Oh my
believe it.
gosh. Can we actually talk about that? Because I feel
Let's
like
do.
mental health stigmas are out there, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
vary in so many different ways. But I
Mm-hmm.
think toxic masculinity is one of the biggest detriments to our, especially within the Black men community, to Black men's mental health. And I'm going to state it from what I think, and you please jump in. But what I'm saying specifically is that perception and that idea that Black men are supposed to be strong 24/7. They're
Hmm.
supposed to always know how to deal with every single type of challenge without breaking a bone or without like feeling any type of discomfort. They're always supposed to be like constantly absorbing trials and tribulations without any type of pushbacks. Like there's just that stigma. And I specifically see this a lot in the African culture where it's like, you're a man, deal with this. You're a man. And it's like, okay, he has a dick. And so what? It's like, he can't have, you know,
It's just, it's
tough
it's a
situation.
it's a ridiculous, I mean, mentality to have, and I don't even get it. Right? Just because you're a man,
Mm-hmm.
you're not supposed to cry. Like, who said? Do you understand what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
don't get it. You're supposed to hoard all your problems inside, or it
Right.
makes you
Of a
lesser
man.
than less
Yeah.
of a man or lesser than because
Yeah.
you shed a tear or because you cried. That's crap, complete crap to me. I like crying. I don't cry as often because, again, maybe that's a testament to the kind of situations or the
Mm-hmm.
kind of people around me that don't give me a cause to cry. But if there's a situation where I have to cry, 10 out of 10, I will cry
Right.
without any form of guilt because I don't feel it's a good way of expressing
Yep.
or releasing toxic toxic thoughts or emotions away from
Yeah.
you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
And you're letting yourself feel like you're
you're letting
accepting
us
what your mental state is at, where your mental state is at, and you're feeling those emotions before you proceed with like, dealing with it,
let
you
me
know?
be honest with you. Top human emotions and feelings, you know, crying is up there.
Mm-hmm.
Crying is up there.
It
You know how
is.
people say
It
sex
is.
is up there, up there. Crying definitely is in that
Okay,
upper
Lamide,
echelon.
I agree. This is an adult puzzle unpopular opinion. Say it again,
I'm
please.
telling you, crying is up there with sex among human feeling and emotions. I'm telling you, that feeling when you're done crying and you're just light, like
Lights. Eh,
light. There's
eh.
no air. there's no that you're giving yourself a good cry, like a
Yep,
good 15-20 minutes cry,
I
and
agree.
that whole light nature that envelopes your body, and you're just
Mm-hmm.
like you can eat a whole plate of rice and chicken
You
afterwards.
burnt
I'm
the
telling you,
calories.
you
Yeah,
you
that
bought.
calorie burner. That's you will start crying. You'll be
Oh my
burning the
god.
calories. No, I absolutely agree, and I think for different types of people, because I know not everyone is a crier. I'm a crier, so it comes easy to me. But basically, what Lamide are saying is that any way that's going to help you come to terms with how you're feeling emotionally, if it's
Mm,
crying, if it's journaling, if it's ranting, if it's literally just like
please indulge.
screaming at
Exactly.
yourself, like do it, like come to terms with your poor mental state at the moment, accept it, feel the feelings. I always tell my friends this: feel your feelings. That's why they are feelings, to be felt.
Scream for the people at the back, please.
And then you know how to proceed. But no, I absolutely agree. And I kind of want to ask you, like, what are some ways to get help, and what are the ways to get support? And I want you to like across the spectrum, right? Across like just a mini bad mental state day to like if you full on have a diagnosed mental illness.
So I think the first thing I would say is effective communication. Like
Yeah.
communicate how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Communicate how you are feeling. I'll say it again. Communicate
Yes.
how you are feeling. Whether
Yes.
that's with a friend, whether that's with yeah, more I will lean towards doing that with a friend because,
Mm-hmm.
again, like we've shared earlier, and I like how the conversation is progressing. Like we've shared earlier, majority of the people out there in the world judge unnecessarily and attach,
Mm-hmm.
stigmas to
Stigmas.
how people are feeling that is not
Mm-hmm.
popular. So try and communicate that to a trusted friend who you know will not judge you, who you know does not have, those
Mm-hmm.
kind of emotions, that negative emotions attached to a difference in opinion or a difference in feeling. So please learn to effectively communicate with a
Yep.
trusted friend or therapist. Like
Yes.
therapy is not a
Oh,
bad thing. The truth of the matter
therapy.
is, I do not, or you can't completely, I do not agree, sorry, I do not disagree with people who say sharing your thoughts with a random person. Yes, they are random, right? But understand the fact that they are professionally trained
Mm-hmm.
to absorb. So, to be honest, I don't even think a therapist is really joyed with the fact that you're sharing your life problems with him,
No.
but he or she has been equipped with skills that can help you manage
Yeah.
how you're feeling. Plus sharing your feelings or situation with a random person who will not reciprocate those feelings with judgment is
Mm-hmm.
way better than sharing with someone close who you know you would interact with on a daily and
Mm-hmm.
whose opinions of you or of your situation can or will be diluted with extra feelings
Yep.
or personal feelings.
Biases. Yeah.
I'm using a lot of words, but if you listen carefully, you understand what I'm
No,
saying.
I get what you mean.
So like it's just the truth. So effectively communicating is the first thing I would say. I think the next thing I would say to manage would be being honest. So like
Be honest
if
with
you're not
yourself. Yep. With
honest with
everyone.
yourself,
Yep.
Lola, be
That's so
honest with
important.
yourself. If you cannot be honest with yourself, which is why a lot of people are in self-denial,
Oh my
there's nothing
Jesus.
there's nothing wrong. Oh my
Self
Jesus.
denial is an epidemic, you guys.
Self-denial, there's nothing
Or
wrong
is
with
it a
me.
pandemic? I don't even know, but
Pandemic, epidemic, and
self
oh joy.
denial.
Self-denial. There's nothing wrong with me. There's not. I'm okay.
I'm
I'm
okay. I'm
fine.
fine.
I'm fine is the most popular
Ah,
phrase. How
even
are
me too,
you?
I
I'm
used to do
fine.
it. I'm fine. I'm okay. Ah,
I'm okay. I'm fine. Mama, alright. That's Yoruba for you're deceiving yourself.
you won't deceive yourself.
You're deceiving yourself. I'm fine. I'm fine. And I used to do this thing a lot with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
When they ask, or even when I was in a relationship, I used to
Yes.
use my first initial phase of fronting. I used to front. Oh, I don't know about guys that say sometimes I front in a relationship. I do. I do it
Men
well.
stay
Whether
fronting,
it's my
Joe.
girlfriend, whether it's my girlfriend or my mom, like I, they know I'm angry. But whenever she asks whether my mom or my girlfriend, whatever, whoever it is, what's wrong with you? I'm fine. I'm okay. Are you sure? I'm fine. I said I'm fine. Deep down, the thing is eating me like,
Uh,
so
do you know the thing with me? Sorry, we're
what?
joking. Me, I would say I'm fine, yeah, but I want
Uh-huh.
you to have some type of mind reader in your brain. I'm
Oh
fine.
my
You're supposed to be
god.
figuring out, translating what's really going on. But yeah,
I,
no,
ju-
don't do that, guys.
I just do I'm fine for like 2 rounds and I end up divulging the information. But my point is, or our point is, please be honest with yourself.
Yeah,
It's important. Like
yeah,
once you're honest with yourself, then people can help you or you can even help yourself. And that's just the
yeah,
truth of the matter.
yeah.
Music also, I think,
Oh my Jesus,
is a
music.
good. There's some songs like that's why I think music is spiritual too. To be honest with you.
What? Yes. Music, any type of outlet. I know some people it's like arts, like just penning,
Mhm.
drawing.
Mhm.
Some
Mhm.
people it's like writing things. Any way of expression that
Mhm.
you're able to connect your feelings with,
Mhm.
do it. Like,
Hmm.
do it.
So
Yeah.
that's it for me. That's it for me.
The same way currency, right? Typically,
Mhm.
it has an appreciation effect or a depreciation effect.
I think I
Think
know where
about
you're
it.
going. Yep. Go
Think
ahead.
about this with like your stressors, right? If you're stressing on something and you're spending 10 hours stressing on something, those 10 hours are not appreciating in like the ways you can advance yourself. However, if you give yourself, I don't know, 4 hours to go to therapy or do something that distresses you, go to the beach, you're having a tough day with like you applied for a job, you didn't get the job, you're like fuck this shit, I hate life. And instead of you to just like continue trying to apply for jobs where you're freaking stressed out, take the day off, go to the beach, go get dinner, affordable dinner that you can afford. Like, do something that's going to distress you because it's going to clear your mind, restore that like drive, and then you can go back to it at a different time and perform better. So it's like, yes, that thing that you could have been easily doing for those 10 hours is not going to appreciate because your mind is just going to continue to depreciate. So kind of think about it in a currency where it's like, what is my mind, what do I need to give my mind now that is going to help me in the long run? And yes, I do know that focusing on those stressors is like what comes to us naturally, but sometimes being able to detach, walk away, give your mind clarity is going to appreciate further and longer term than like just focusing all in on whatever the stressors is. Again, I'm going to preface this. I know it's easier said than done, but a lot of times like taking one step slowly helps you over time. It's like you do a mini thing and then you do another slightly bigger thing and then you do another slight, and before you know it, you have a good balance of how you can manage like stressful situations, how you can manage your mental health, and how you're constantly like having that release, right? Instead of just
Mhm.
being in that
Mhm.
cycle of just like negative mental fog.
Mhm.
So that's one I would tell myself because I definitely didn't know how to do that. It was always like, oh shoot. And I'm a very like when it comes to time, I'm trying to like figure out the best way for my efficiency. How am I gonna do this and just like do it and just be done? But it's like sometimes your mind cannot do it. Like you cannot physically do it because your mind is not there. So step away, okay? Give yourself some time and then you can come back and do it within a shorter period of time, you know? Um I have two more and I'll be quick. The other one is like understanding my feelings. And I think this is something that you said earlier. Is like when I said self denial is an epidemic or a pandemic, you guys thought I was joking. It's and I can speak from myself, and I also know friends I talk to where it's like there's so many times when you're in it, and the reason why I was even joking like that is because sometimes you don't recognize how it's stunting you. It's like you're not accepting how you're feeling, and
Hmm.
that is keeping you in such a standstill for a long period of time.
Hmm.
Like, if you break it down, like the philosophy of it is actually wild. So sometimes all you, well, not all, but like the biggest thing that you could do for yourself is really to come to terms with your emotions. Like, how am I feeling? What are these feelings that I'm feeling? And then from there you can start to identify, like, okay, what are my triggers? What led me here? Where do I want to be outside of this?
Hmm.
Like, what are the steps I want to make? All of that, all of that. But understanding my feelings was so important, and what was making me feel those feelings in order to like get out of that funk longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last thing, which is so big, but again, this is another one that is like, if it doesn't come naturally to you, it just doesn't. It's asking for help. And this help may be going to therapy, it may be talking to a friend, it may be reaching out to a helpline, it may be just asking a friend for like food or extra change, like whatever the situation may be. It seems so minor, but sometimes it can stunt you so much, and like
Hmm.
you can be suffering. Your mental state is depreciating
Suffering in
on
silence.
all, like, just inside quiet. And all you literally had to do was just ask a friend who loves you, or like a cared person. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be a friend. Sometimes it could be a stranger, but you just like
Hmm.
put yourself out there and ask for help. Like, yeah, those are, I'm so
Yeah, you're
passionate
right.
about
Because
it.
not everybody. I mean, it's really important, and I'm happy
Mhm.
you're being honest and being really informative with your points. Because it's not everybody that has the type of friends that are super inquisitive and take notes. So if they've
Mhm.
seen those shifts or signs in you, they won't give up with asking or trying to
Yep.
get you back to your normal self. So if you're not blessed with friends like that, but they are still genuine friends, but they don't have that extra grr that they
Mhm.
just know,
Girl, yes.
yeah, that extra that they just know, and they
Yeah.
want to be like unlock all those feelings for
Mhm.
you. They know you can't communicate. Well, what do you then do? You have to just take the first step. Maybe all they need you to do is take the first step, and they will do the remaining 99.
Mhm.
But that first step might be difficult because they can't
Mhm.
just know. So
Yeah.
just say something. And I think the only two things
Mhm.
I would add, what would I tell myself, my young self? I think is not to shy away from being, again, it ties to my earlier points and to what Lade has said,
Mhm.
not shy away from being honest about my true feelings.
Yeah, true.
So there are just some things that, again, maybe it's the man thing or
Mm.
societal thing, but you've just been trained. Again, I don't know who trains us, but
Uh,
society just
is
naturally,
years of just like toxic masculinity.
I
Years
guess so, to
ingrained into
suck
our
it up.
society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just being, again, I also think this thing is the root of a lot of evils, and you would understand where I'm going to. So just be honest with how you're truly feeling. I
Mhm.
don't want to go to school today. Why don't you want to go to school today? Because I don't feel like being in school today. The response should not be, "Oh my God, will you go to school, my friend?" Blah 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 blah
Mhm.
blah blah. I'm paying a lot of. I genuinely try and understand where is
Right.
this coming
Were
from.
you bullied?
Is were
Are
you
you
bullied?
not
Is
doing well
so
in school? Do you feel over,
you
like,
already
yo, those questions, Lamide, they could, I hate to become dark, but like, do you know how many people
you already
had
know where I'm going. Please take it up.
conversation with their
Take
parents and it was
Yep.
swept under the rug, and now they're dealing with years of just
You
trauma,
already know
or
where I'm
even
going.
extreme, they lose their
That's
child.
Yep.
God.
That's why I'm taking the conversation too.
Yeah.
And I do want to shy away from it because those questions are
Mhm.
so pivotal to
Mhm.
how a lot of people
Yeah.
ended up today. I
Yeah.
mean, if a girl is telling you, you're saying, let's go to Uncle so and so's house, and she
Yep.
says, I don't want to go, your response should not be, go and wear your
Go
shoes,
and
blah,
wear your
blah, blah,
shoes,
blah,
yo.
blah, we are going.
Yeah.
You should be
Yeah.
like, okay, we are not going. It's as simple as that. Like, or why do you feel that way? be
Mhm.
sensitive, and be smart. I think a lot of parents need, before they become parents or immediately they become parents, go for classes. I don't think a lot of parents do parenting
Yeah.
classes, but
Emotional
some of the
intelligence is so
emotion
important.
are like 90% of the world does not have it, to be honest with you.
Uh,
That's where you see a woman who is fat and you be like, ah, or a Nigerian auntie will see a woman that her niece that is not yet married, unless she's at late 20s, and you be like, in public, oh, you be like, maybe it's a family gathering or something. You be like, Lolade, where's your husband?
where's your
You won't
husband?
marry.
I think, or let's say you I put on weight. They'll be like, well, like, they with this weight you put on, are you sure somebody will marry you? What the
Do you understand? Nigerian aunties are just the shadiest. Like, they will say, now, wow, why are you
no?
adding all this weight
As
to
the all
her?
this weight too. Who do you think is going to handle you?
Do you understand what
God.
I'm saying? And
And it
they'll
messes
do it.
with you emotionally and mentally.
Oh
Like,
my God.
bruh.
Oh my God. So, I mean, just, yeah, that's what I'll tell myself. Just be more honest
Mhm.
with how you're
I like
feeling and don't be
that.
scared to speak up. I
Yeah.
think that, and in fact, that's my only thing. That's the only thing.
No,
Because
but
I
that's such
feel
a
like,
big thing.
yeah, yeah. Because at the root of everything, a lot of conversations I probably did not want to have because the fear.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
yeah, just looking back now, shot. Yeah, that's what I can tell myself. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, that
That's
fear was instilled in us, and it's all part of the things that we need to start be debunking. It's like, let's talk about how we're feeling. Let's talk about our mental health states, and that's going to
Mhm.
help guide like our relationship dynamics and even our wellness. Like, over because I'm not sick doesn't mean
Mhm.
my mind might not be sick.
Hey, tell them
Physically, yeah,
more.
like
Tell
physical
them
health
more.
doesn't equate to mental health, but mental health can very much feed into your physical health.
And I think the last thing I want to say is this. I said it at the beginning of the podcast, and I want to say it again.
Mm.
Someone that does not agree with you on societal issues is not mentally sick. Like, let's stop
Right?
being quick to attach mental illness or
Mhm.
mental anything mentally related to
Mhm.
people who disagree with us. I think that in itself is really toxic and
Yeah.
judgmental, and everything is rooted and championed with social media.
Mm.
So again, if you want to call another person sick for their thoughts, be also ready to admit that we are all sick and conditioned in a certain way. It's the truth.
No, for real.
Nobody holy pass means
Uh,
nobody is holier than another. Like, everybody likes the whole feeling of those things. My white is too clean. My white is cleaner than your own white.
you are the one
I'm
that is
better than you. Are the
mentally
one that is
stable.
dirty. You're the one
Mhm.
that is mentally unstable.
Mhm.
All that.
Yeah.
Ah, mm-mm.
Guys,
Not
don't
me.
be part of the problem. Do better.
Not me.
And I hope
Not
we've
me.
inspired you to
Yep.
start thinking about things differently and to start having productive conversations with your friends, with your family. And if there's somebody that is still in the century of the 60s and the 50s, educate them in the best possible respectful way that you can.
Hmm.
Okay? That's it. That's it for me.
That's it. And with that, we've come to the end of another episode. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to us. This was a really, 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 really fantastic episode, in
I
my
loved it.
opinion.
Mhm.
Um, Thank you guys so much for listening. Please subscribe to our podcast, the Adult Puzzle Podcast, on all streaming platforms.
Mhm.
Subscribe, like, share, rate us, please. Rating us is
5 stars,
important.
okay? Nothing
Five
less.
stars.
We put so
Rate
much
us,
work into this
please,
shit.
on all platforms. That's a way of you telling us that you're proud of us. You
Thank
like what we
you.
don't just listen and go. Just
Mm-mm.
take 2 seconds, give us those five
Okay.
stars, and yeah, we'll be praying for you. And yeah, thank you guys so much again. You see, I said thank you like 5 times because we cannot thank you enough,
We're
literally.
thankful people. We're grateful
So we're
people.
grateful and thankful people.
Mhm.
It's bye bye from me.
Bye, guys. Bye, Lamide.
Bye, Lade.